Here we go, at the end of November 2022, Livy, Book 1, Chapter 17. Patrum, genitive of the fathers. Interim, meanwhile, enemos in the accusative plural. The minds are curtamen, regni, and cupido versabat. Nice and short. So the curtamen is a contest, regni is for the kingdom, ac means and there was a cupido, which is a nominative, meaning desire. So there's a contest for the kingdom and the desire. Versabat, this is the frequentive of verto, to turn. It means to, well, it can mean a few things. It means to live, but it's probably here meaning something like there was disturbance because we have the minds of the fathers here. So there was trouble brewing in this contest. Nectum, that's an adverb, means not yet. Ad singulos, two single people most likely. Queer, because, nemo, no one. Magnopair, a adverb, greatly, eminabat. So no one was shining, eminabating greatly in novo population, in this new people. Pervenerat. So they had not yet, nectum, reached a point in this new population to a single person here out of the group, shining greatly or especially. Factionibus inter ordines curta. So there was a contesting going on, like with curtamen's contest. Here's the verb. Inter ordines. This is probably going with the nectum, so not yet any of this had happened. With the factions, in English it's pretty much the same thing. So in the ordines is between the orders of the people. You say you have knights and the patrum, the fathers and plebs, etc. Alright, undae ab Sabines. This looks like a gerund. Of those who arose from the Sabines, of their stock, nay, we'll just leave that for now, it's usually a negative thing. Queer, because post tati mortem. This is post with the accusative preposition. So after the death, split here with this genitive, of Tatius, who was an early king, ab sua parte non erat regnatum. So from their side, parte usually means part or side. Regnatum, this is the supine form of regno, to rule. So after the death of Tatius, there hadn't been anyone regnatum, anyone who was a ruler. In societe eque, in the society, this would be their alliance. Possessionem impare emitterant. So this nay here, I'm guessing they were fearing that they would lose a mitterant, their equality in this society, in this agreement, possession for the ruling of the empire. So under the agreement, one of their kings, one of their own people could be king. Sueco porus creari regum volabant. So here's what they wanted. They were volabanting, creare with the infinitive, to be created, a regum, a king, out of their own suis corpus, from their own body, from one of their own. Romani veteres. Veteres is third plural. Romani is first nominative accusative. So these are in apposition. So the Roman veterans, the old Romans, perigrum regnum aspernabantur. So here's the NT from these veterans. These are older Roman stock. They were spurning a perigrum regum, which means a foreign-born king. In varis voluntatis, in the various wills. Voluntas usually comes out of your brain. It's something that you were thinking, what you desired. Regnare tamen nevertheless. Omnes volabant. So, nevertheless, they all were wanting there to be a ruler, regnare, in their different types of willings. I'm guessing of the Sabines and the Romans, both of them. Libertatis dulcidanine non-dum experta. So they're not yet experienced. Experta, first and second, when you make a participle out of this. It's pretty much like in English, you've experienced, you get expert in something if you've tried and tested. So they're not yet tasted the dulcinea, the sweetness of liberty, libertatis. Timor, which is fear. Deinde is the adverb. So then, a fear incessed the patres. This is also an accusative. So fear then entered, incessant came in with the in, to the fathers. Nay, usually a verb of fearing is swapped, but it's not actually any person doing the fearing, so we'll just say here. So we'll just say, lest a civitatem, the state, sine imperio, without an emperor, without a leader, an army, sine duce, army without a leader, takes the ablative as you see. Multarum circa, here's a preposition, multarum civitatum in ritatis animus. This is an alternate spelling here. That there might be, I think these are ablatives here, so with the irritated minds of many of the city-states circa around them, vis aliqua externa ad auriatur. So the ad auriatur means would arise. A vis is a force, aliqua means some force, externa means external, so external to themselves, which are the Romans and these Sabines which they've bred with. Around them, these irritated minds, there's different translations for irritated, but that's a simple translation, because they're an army without a leader and a state without a king. Et, and, esse igator is therefore, aliquod caput placabat. So this placabat is possibly a head verb taking the esse. So then it was decided, placabat, therefore, igator, that there should be aliquod caput, some head of the state. Et no one, et nemo, altera considere in animum inducabat. And so, hadn't entered into the minds of no one, nemo, to concede to another person. Considere is the verb, altera, is it a pronominal or whatever they're called, one of those naughty nines? Anyway, it looks like a dative or something. So basically, they decided that they would have a head, but no one could come into their mind to concede to another person. Ita, so thus or so, rem inter se centum patres. So centum patres is 100 of these fathers. Inter se amongst themselves. Thus was the rem, the matter conducted. Decem decurius, which is 10 decuries, is that what we call them in English? Factis were made. We look at this, they both have the is ending here. And singulus, we have a qui, so and a single one in singulas. Decurias, creatus qui, summum rerum praesent consociant. Yeah, so looks like 10 decurions were created, and a single one in each of these single decurions. They would create one, qui, who would praesent be in charge of summum rerum, which is the utmost of things or the utmost in control. He would be the head man. Con means together, and sociant means another alliance or something that they'd all agreed on. Okay, so we'll have a daily dictionary word of this verb consociate, to make common or share, associate, join, unite and connect, agree with. So take your pick of how you want to interpret it. Decem imperiabant. So there were 10 giving the orders. With the imperium, they had the power, they were ruling, governing. Unus, 1, cum insignibus imperi and lictoribus erat. There was 1, unus, erat, means there was in the past. With the insignia of control, the insignia is just like the signs of it, and the lictoribus, I think they were these people who carried their rods and other stuff that they needed to show they were powerful. They served under them. You could probably Google it. Okay, so in one of these 10 turned out to be the head guy. Quinque dierum spatiae. So there was a spatia, a space. Dierum's a genitive of 5 days. Quinque is 5. Is that what it is? So finibator imperium. Finibator, that means there was an ending, or this was the limit of this space of 5 days of their imperium. So they'd rule for 5 days, and per omnes, through all of them, in orbem ibant, and it went in an orbum, it went in a circle, in a rotation. Enum qui intervallum regni fuit, and this interval was of a year, ennuum, of this interregnum, basically. Id, this, in the neuter, abere, from this matter of circumstances, quod now nunc, which now, quoque also, tenent nomen, holds this name, appellatum interregnum. It was called appellatum and interregnum. Pretty simple. Fremere, to groan, deinde then, plebs, the nominative. The plebs then were groaning. Multiplicatum servitudum. These are appositions of accusative. Their servitude had multiplied. Their servitude had increased. Centum, 100, pro usually takes the ablative. So 100 pro uno. 100 instead of 1, dominus factos had been made. So now 100 masters has been made instead of 1. Nec ultra nisi regem et ab ipsis creatum videbantur passurae. That means to endure or to suffer. Anyway, so that bit was they seemed, negative, that they would passurae, they would endure, not to be a king, unless nisi was creatum from themselves, unless they themselves created the king, regem creatum. Cum sensisent, that's perfect if you should know this. Cum takes subjunctive anyway. Ea movere patre. So when the fathers, they sensed this, and it was moving them, so they had to do something. Offerendum, so gerund. Ultra rati. So rati with the I there means it's plural. So this is the fathers here. They are rati. They are thinking in this deponent that they should offer them something ultra of their own accord, because amisurae, which is the second type of future, they would be losing something. Okay, so they thought they would offer something rather than lose it. Well, they knew they were going to lose it. Ita gratium iunt. So then they went into their favour. Gratia is a of influence or favour. Inunt means the verb. Summa potestate populi permissa. So it was allowed to the populace. Permission, you might say permission was given to the people of the summa potestate. The utmost power was given to them. Ut non plus darent. So that we have iter and uta correlatives. They would give non plus, not more. Juris more rights than detenerant. Detenerant would mean keep for themselves. Sometimes it means to make a delay, but I'm saying it be keeping it for themselves. So here, the fathers sensed and took some action. They thought it would be better to offer something of their own accord. They were thinking this because they were about to lose power, or there'd be a revolt or something. Thus, they entered into this favour by allowing to the people this power, but they didn't give them more rights than what they would keep for themselves. Here we go. Decreverunt enim. So, well, because of this, for they decreed ut that cum populus, when the people had used a regem, ordered the king, they had decided upon a king. Probably should be a space there. This sic thus ratum. So, thinking this as such, esset, si patres auctores fuerent. So this would only be ratified basically if the fathers were the authority beyond it, if they actually had to agree with it. So people would choose the king, but the fathers would would have to approve of it. Hodie, today, quoque also in legibus magistratibusque, rogandus usurpator idem jus. V adempta. And we've got a semicolon. Okay. Prius quem populus suffragium inient in insertum comitorium eventum patres auctores fiunt. So today also in the Rogante, this is in the elections or choosing for the laws and the magistrates, or today in the laws and in the choosing of magistrates, usurpator, this is used. Idem just with the same justice, same right. Force is adempta been removed, so I guess that's a good thing. Prior to the people in going into suffragium to vote, in the uncertainty of the comitorium, so while this assembly it was still uncertain of the eventum, the outcome, the fathers would make auctores. They would give an approval. They would be, as we saw up here, I think it's exactly the same language, really. Patres auctores. Tum then inter rex contione advocata. So then when the inter rex contione advocata is ablative absolute, having called the contione together, having called the assembly together, quod bonum, the good, the forstum is the, it's like blessedness or favour of the gods maybe, and felix qui, and that's just general luckiness. He said, this would be the inter rexes doing the inquitting. So, the quad here is probably that neuter, because that's neuter. So anyway, he said the good and the blessed and the luck, he said, quirites, this is evocative to the citizens. Create regem, choose your king. Ita thus, visum est patribus. Thus it seems to these fathers. I think the fathers later on become senators. Patres dende, the fathers then, si dignum qui secundus ab Romulo numeritor creatus actores fiant. Basically, it was the fathers then, if dignum qui, if he is worthy, who secundus has a couple of different meanings. It can mean following, like when you follow the coast, or second, but mainly it means favourable. So numerators counted out ab Romulus creator. So if you create someone who's favourable, who will follow from Romulus, auctores fiant, you'll get their authorization, you'll get their approval. Adio id gratum plebi fuit ut ne. Victi beneficio videritor id modo sciscerent uberentque ut senatus discerneret qui Rome regnaret. There you go. Okay, so adio ut, as you know, means to such an extent that. Id's this, gratum plebi. This was favourable to the plebs in that, not that they seemed to be outdone or beaten in beneficio, in kindness. Id modo, in this way, sciscent, they knew, and uberent. So they knew, and they, ordering's too strong, but they decided, and that who senatus decerneret, also that who the Senate had decided, qui who regneret, who would be king of Rome. So basically the Senate, these fathers, and the plebs together are deciding. And that's how it does. The plebs get the vote, and the Senate approves of the king while the voting's going on.